All right, mic check, I'm good. So I'm Max Ceron, CWB Association Welding Podcast. Today we have a really cool guest, Welding Podcast.
The show is about to begin.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the CWB Association Podcast. My name is Max Ceron, as always. Looking for the coolest people I can interview because we're always trying to have fun here. We've had a few weeks of interviewing students, CEOs, but now we're going to head to the valley that I love, which is teaching. And we have an instructor here, Kat Tudor from Durham and Sheridan College on the show. Kat, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
I'm good. It's not crazy cold out here in Saskatchewan today. It's -7, which is basically like summer. How is it for you?
It's still a little bit chilly. It got nicer though, sunny. So I'm noticing the time changing over now, getting into springtime. So yeah, I'm happy about that. I'm with the cold.
No, I'm not a big fan, which people are like, why do you live in Saskatchewan? I don't really have an answer for that.
Yeah.
But you guys just had what's that crazy thing that happens out east every year that makes my mind so confused?
Oh,
you had daylight savings time.
Right. Yeah. Do you not have that there?
No, we don't have that. Our time is the same all the time. Like I think it should be.
Yeah, I think it should be that way too. I was even joking with some of my students today, like not even joking, but just we were laughing about it, that I hadn't changed the time in my vehicle. Last time it switched over, so I'm like, oh, look at that, now it's back. So perfect. I was off by an hour. So
as a person growing up in the East, did you have like teachers explain daylight saving time, like when you were a kid, being like, hey, this is the date when you have to change the time? Every time I talk to people from Ontario or out east or even out west who are on the other side of the spectrum and their clocks go the other way, everyone's like, I have no idea when or why. I just get told. The radio guy on the radio tells me in the morning. Like,
yeah, they never really linked it into the education part that I remember. Yeah, so it's usually talking to my mom on the phone or something. She'll be like, hey, clocks go forward or clocks go back, and I'm like, oh, okay. Or now everything just seems, most of my clocks do it on their own, right? So stuff I'm looking at, so my phone, my alarms, everything I go by. So that's lucky there. But yeah, I would rather just stay the same. And I think we're hopefully moving that way though.
I think it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen. It's probably good. But I mean, somewhere it's probably going to mess something up, but that's somebody else's problem.
Yeah, it's not my problem. Yeah.
No.
It's okay.
So let's start with where you are. Where are you calling in from right now?
I'm at home now. So when I finished up at the school, I came home. So I am based in Peterborough is where I live, Peterborough, Ontario. So, and then I travel out. So I drive a lot for work. I'm a lot on the road a lot. But yeah, so it's worth it. That's what I tell myself all the time. My drives are worth it. I love my job. So, so that's what's good. But I live on my own and I live with my little Jack Russell, Rocky. So that's basically
Rocky. Is he tough?
He's a tough guy. Yeah, I give him a bone. Actually, that's the only reason why you don't hear him right now, because he's usually he wants to be center of attention, so he's always by my side. I gave him a bone just before we started, so he's off with that.
So, were you born in Peterborough? Were you born in the area?
No, I was born in Toronto area. Yeah, and then when I was young, I moved to Peterborough. So I've been in Peterborough for a long time now. So it's a good spot. I'm close to my sister. I'm very close with my sister. So my older sister lives close to me. My mom's here. So, and I grew up in a family of just females. So it's just the three of us. So we're pretty close. So it's a nice spot where I'm at and close to my family. So I like it.
So in an all-woman environment, what did she do for a living? How was she the breadwinner?
Yeah, so my mom, she was a hairdresser. And she was lucky for when I was younger, she was able to stay home. My dad did not live with us, but he made it. So my mom was kind of able to stay at home and take care of us and do that from where we were in Peterborough. My dad was in Montreal, so we would see him the odd time, but not very often. So my mom was a single parent, and I grew up with her raising us as a hairdresser when she was working. So as I got older, she went back to work as a hairdresser. And that's one thing that kind of helped my choice when I got into choosing what I was going to do when I got into school, was just keeping in mind my mom and what it was like as I grew up, right? Like I had a great growing up at home. I loved my mom being a single parent. She did a great job at it. But when she did go back to work with hairstyling, she struggled a bit at that point, sometimes supporting us as a single parent. So when I left school, that was kind of something that always stuck with me. I wanted to make sure I was able to support myself, not rely on anyone else to help if I needed that at the time. I wanted to be able to happily support myself as a strong, independent female. And that's kind of where I thought of getting into the trades, because I wanted something that would support myself and give me lots of opportunities. So.
Well, you know, it's my brother was a hairdresser out of high school, and he got his red seal, and he wasn't able to stay in it. It wasn't very friendly to him in a couple ways. Is that hairdressing is a hard job.
It is
long hours, lots of work.
Yep.
It's a very in-depth trade. You have to have a lot of physical skill in terms of your hands and your eyes.
That's what took to my mom after you.
Right. There's a lot of equipment. Like you can't just buy cheap stuff. It's got to be good stuff, equipment, the products that they use. And then also the whole concept of fashion, that you got to like stay on top of what's happening in the world. You can't just like ignore the world.
Exactly.
You have to be on. So it's a very tough gig.
So if you don't have the time, you can make great money in it, right? It's a great trade as well. And if you want to get into that type of thing, but if you're not willing, my mom raising us at the same time, she wasn't able to do the extra. So she worked what she could. And like I said, she was out of the trade for a bit. She went back, did some refresh, and then started working again. But I saw that there, right? I was also relying somewhat on my father that wasn't around to help support us as we grew up. And then when that wasn't around, that's when she got back into working. Right. So that's just one thing I watched. My mom was a strong, independent woman, took care of us very well. We traveled when we were younger. We did all of that. But that's something that did lead into my decisions when I came out of high school, and I'm thinking, what am I going to go to school for? I wanted to go to school for something I was going to get a job. And there would be jobs available for me that would pay well, right? And allow me to do the things that I'm doing for myself right now. So
growing up, you know, you're in a girl power environment.
Yeah.
And you're in high school, coming up, you know, your elementary school to high school. Were you tinkery? Were you mechanically inclined? Were you riding bicycles? What were the things that interested you? You know, where was your likes and dislikes at? Because those are kind of the things that guide you when you start looking at what you want to do for a living, right?
Yeah, totally. I like to describe myself as like a girly girl, though, at the same time. So when I grew up...
Me too, don't worry.
Right? Yeah. And I grew up with my mom. My mom wasn't into, but she, like I said, she was a strong female. She got anything she needed to get done around the place most of the time for us, right? She did have handymans come over for some things the odd time to help. Like she would hire for little jobs that would assist her. She wasn't a tradesy person really, other than with the hairstyle, into the skilled trades with anything to do with what I'm into now. So I didn't really have any of that base growing up, and sports wasn't really a thing for me. I didn't really get into many sports. I liked gymnastics when I was younger, and I loved hairstyling. My mom was into hairstyling.
Yeah.
I still love hairstyling stuff. Like I love that type of thing. Now makeup. When I was going through high school, I thought I might want to go to school for effects makeup.
That'd be super sick. Yeah.
I thought hairstyling. I thought all things went through my mind, right? But it's then as I went out on my own and I had my own apartment, and I realized I'm going to be paying bills, and I realized that it makes a difference to me that I want to be looking for something that's going to be valuable in the way that I can make lots of money, right? I can with the hairstyling thing. But I guess the whole idea was I started hearing trades are open for females. We need more females into trades. And that's why it's so good that we're still ramping that up for young females, because I think it was kind of just beginning at that point. When I first actually got out of high school, I didn't go right into the trades. I thought, I was getting my best marks probably in law and those type of classes, and I thought it was interesting. So I took law when I got out of high school. And then when I went through, I was processing through that program, and I got a job at a group home to get experience working with the type of young men and women that I would be seeing in the field.
Mm-hmm.
Get me experience onto my resume I was thinking correctional officer or something like that. That's
Oh yeah, you want to be a CO? Yeah.
I had thought in my mind at that time. And I was just working with the students in the group home, or the women. Clients,
whatever. Yeah.
I felt so bad for them, like just feeling like they didn't have their family there. I just don't know enough into that. And I would feel like the right spot for me. So that's when I realized, okay, well, and I wasn't making the best money. I know that you probably wouldn't write out the door, but I wasn't making the money I was when I would be serving. So I served during school and I'd make great tips. So what ended up happening was I just went back to serving. And then I was like, I need to go to school again for something so I'm not just getting kind of stuck in one area. And I sat with my sister one day and we started talking about the trades, because we had heard about women being needed in the trades and that there was jobs open in the trades. So I wanted something that I was able to get hired out of school, find a job that was hopefully like a well-paying job. If not what I was looking for right away, I would work my way to that point.
Quickly,
So things like heavy equipment operator and welding went through my mind. So I just ended up going for welding. I took a little bit of that in high school, but it was more like forging. We made like fire pokers for a fire and things like that. So it was cool, but like I wasn't really right into that at that point. I would have never thought that would have been at that point, like grade 9, 10, that's what I would go into. Right.
So, I thought, you're looking at these options. You finish high school.
Yeah.
You said you started hearing a little bit in high school about the trades, which is almost kind of shocking. You must have been to a very progressive high school, because there's still schools today where the kids don't hear a single thing about school, right? They don't hear anything about our trades. They don't hear anything about welding. And you must have been somewhere where there was a pretty good program for them to be like, hey, they need trades they need women in the trades. It's awesome that you heard that.
Right. Yeah. That was at that point, it wasn't even in high school though. So I would have already been out of high school, went to college for a bit, realized that wasn't the right thing for me where I was at. And then I started thinking, okay, trades, because I think I remember hearing it on the radio. I would hear it around, right? But it was like, we need women welders. We need something in the trades. I like doing things with my hands. I've always been like that. I loved art class when I was in high school, right? That type of thing. And I thought, well, I'm just going to go for it. The main thing in mind was I want to make money. I want a job that I'm going to get a job, because I make great money serving. I made great tips. All I could think is the hours I was like, sometimes I was working till 2 a.m. Wasn't getting home till 4, right? And I'm not going to want to do that maybe constantly.
10 years.
Right? Exactly. So that's when I'm thinking, I'm going to go to school for something. I want to go to school for something that's going to make me money. I also don't want to go to school for, at that point, like
4 more years,
Yes, right. So, and I'm thinking, okay, trades needed. I'm going to hopefully be able to get a job out the door. So I ended up loving welding when I started taking it. So the first day they get you on the torches, right? You're lighting up this oxy-fuel torch. You got a flame in your hand. So it's so like fresh and it's something new. So, and it can be super intimidating at the beginning because it's so new and it's dangerous and
it's fire.
Right? Yeah. But it's also so cool to see what you can do for yourself, right? And then I think that's what really caught on and made me think, oh, cool, I'm going to love this, is the fact that I can take a piece of material and it can be a flat piece of material and create something really cool from it, right?
So if you go back to those moments where you're like, okay, I heard it on the radio or in random life about welding and women wanting to get into welding.
Yeah.
How did you find where to go? Like, how did you figure out which college you wanted to go to or which program you want to take? How do you even start? Like, so if someone listening right now is like, this is the first time they hear this, and
probably at a younger age. I was probably like 16, 17 when I got an apartment and when I was younger. And then, so I had lived on my own for a little bit, working, serving while I went through school, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to still be able to go to school, but support myself. So that was the thing at the beginning I needed to make sure I was able to do. So I went to school where it was closest for me to get to, which is in the town I lived in. So that was Fleming College. And I took the 2-year welding program that is offered at the colleges that I work at now, something similar to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're at the colleges.
And that 2-year program, is it like a pre-employment course? Or is it like one of those, like I know they're really popular in Ontario, like the, what are they called? Welding engineering tech course.
Yeah, so it's like that. So mine was welding and fabrication technician course,
Okay.
right? When I first went to school for welding, I went for a welding technician. I think it was just a basic. And I finished that off and I realized, well, this just gave me a taste. I left with a couple tickets, like flat and horizontal stick welding, and we didn't get into touch TIG welding, and we didn't get into certain things. So I was able to see that, okay, I like this. I feel like I'm going to be good at it. I need more time with it because with what I had learned there, it wasn't going to be enough to really get me in the door in a lot of spots right away, as I didn't have anything else from the trades on my resume. And I really wanted to get into TIG welding. It could have maybe helped me get into the welding technician program, which is only a year, into some people do get into the union after that, depending on, because they want to keep training you and continue on education.
And if you want to do TIG work, like the Boilermakers, there's a ton of TIG work and stuff like that. Yeah.
By the union and not have to go back to school for the 2-year program. But that's the way I went. I went back to school. I went for the 2-year welding fabrication technician program, where you learn more about fabricating and you get into TIG welding and that type of thing. So I really liked TIG. At the beginning, I wanted to be so good at it, but I sucked, right? And that was the hard part. I just sucked at the beginning. I was maybe not just the worst, but I wasn't great. And even when I look back, I kept a lot of old little
coupons,
things back. And when I thought I was really good, I wasn't maybe that great, but I was getting there. Right? So it's a process, but I wanted to be really good at it. I don't have a steady hand, really. So I've learned to work with that now throughout the time. But I remember hearing things when I first got into the program, like, oh, you got to have a steady hand to be a welder. And so that's one thing I remind my students too, like, don't let anybody tell you what you can't do, right?
Oh, you can figure it out. You can always figure it out.
Whatever you want in life, as long as you put the effort into it, you're going to be able to do it, right? Hopefully. Some people just catch on to things a little quicker, right? So same thing with welding. I put in a lot of effort into aluminum because once they introduced aluminum to it, I loved working with it. I liked how light it was and how easy I was able to form it compared to other materials. I loved welding it. So I would go into the shop any extra time I'd have, and I'd weld in the shop, and I would I got a position at the college where they hire you to work in the shop, cutting material and helping fix little downfalls with the machines as classes are running and stuff like that. So that was something to help put on my resume to carry forward to hopefully get me out of school a job that got my foot in the door. And I would volunteer for any women in trades events that I could do and that type of thing. So I tried to just absorb as much as I could because I realized, okay, I'm coming closer to the end, especially in the last year. I want to take in as much information as I can because I want to get somewhere with this, right? This is what. and I liked the TIG idea. So I had someone see my aluminum welds because they allowed some people from industry come into the college. This is what I like that colleges do that sometimes. So to have like a showcase day.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. Yeah.
Come in and see some of the students' welds or some of the fabrication assignments they've been working on. So you can see some of the students, and that's where I would, I handed out some resumes to some of those people, and they were able to see some of my welds that I had done and see that I had enough that they could keep working with me, right? So
yeah,
get me in the door for TIG welding, and that's where I got a position, TIG welding, and I was lucky to get that. Not lucky, I wouldn't say lucky, because I put in hard work, so I was happy to get that, and I got a position. And looking back, and even at the time, I don't feel like I was making what I thought I would make out the door. That was okay, because I was learning a lot. So I took less of a pay where I saw jobs I could have left and I could have made more, where I was learning so much fabrication, and I was able to TIG weld so much with aluminum and stainless steels and do all these things that I wavered that, right? I could have got a job just stick welding, doing some basic structure, a little bit more to the structural side that wasn't in the TIG welding spot that I wanted to be at, and maybe not learn as much fabrication. I wouldn't have gotten into all the stuff that I was learning where I was. So that working forward, I did gain, right, in what I was making in wage throughout the time I worked there. It slowly went up, but
so if you go back and to when you started your training,
yeah.
you know, was there a lot of women in your courses? You know, did you have like a fellowship of girls there?
There was like 2 other females in the program. I had no female instructors. So that's one thing I like that I'm seeing more now, is there's a lot more female instructors at the colleges, right? So I didn't have any, it was all males, a lot of older males. I had maybe one younger professor, and you kind of go to those ones too, like, not saying that the older, but you get a little bit of difference from everybody, right? You hear some new stuff, you hear some older things, you hear this, you hear that, and it all mixes together, which is great. But I didn't have any female trades instructors for my classes. I did have 2 other females in my classes. And I know that they tried hard. One of them got a job welding aluminum, MIG welding. I think it was aluminum, as they left school. And it is difficult for females to still get that footing in sometimes. And that's
to get the job.
Bring that down a bit, I feel like, because if there hasn't been a female at the shop before, there can be little things that I've heard, like washrooms. You know, we don't have a washroom for the females. We have that in certain spots to hire a female. So just trying to get it more open, because having a female on your crew is adds so much more to the team, right? Seeing my groups of students in the class now, the class sizes are evening out a bit more.
They are, yeah.
Come in, yeah. And it's great. You see the boys are working with the females, the girls are, and there's no one that's higher than another.
No, it all levels out. And even, and this is the problem that we hear from the other end, and I'm sure you've heard it too, is like, okay, it's good we're getting more women in to the classes and into the schools. We're having still problems with getting them jobs. Lots of places, like you said, are still struggling with hiring women.
Yeah.
And then the attrition rate 4 years down the road, the number of women red seals is way less.
Yeah.
A lot of women will start welding, but not follow it through to the end, you know?
Yeah, that's where it's keeping them, right? Making it so it's an environment that a female would want to still work in, like make it comfortable for a female, because it's not always, and that's where I see it slowly changing. And I think it's great seeing the female instructors that work alongside me at the college, all of us teaching these classes, because as they leave out the door, it's a different mindset with all of these students as they're leaving out from what you may find in areas still around in the trade, which is just not seeing numbers of females in those jobs. So when you see it, sometimes it's taken in many different ways, and it can be intimidating for a female to be the first one to enter into an area that's male dominated, and have some of those little pokes
Situations come up,
get from the people that are around. And it's hard because if you don't have a backing of females, so you don't have someone to go to and explain it to, and you don't have someone, even if there's other females working in different departments, just being in the area you're in, right, or being able to express what you've gone to work through and those things, it's enough to be enough, right, for the person to say, okay, it's too stressful for me to put up with that. They don't have like a backing of other females to go to debrief after their day, right? Mm-hmm. So, and that's what the males will have more of. So it's not the same, right? So that's where when people think, oh, well, it's females, I still work alongside them. It's the same. It's not yet though, right? It's not.
No. I can come home from work and I'll run into my other guy welder friends and we'll have a drink and we'll talk about work. And for a woman to get off work and run into the other girl welders, it's way less. Like, right? It's only 4% of the industry. The odds are low, right?
Exactly, right? So, and then just feeling like that you're accepted in a way that's just equal. Everybody else around, you know what I mean? So I think that's definitely changing though. I see it. The females are getting hired out of college, getting great positions right into the union. A lot of them, you see them being taken out of high school. Even I do work at the high schools, going in and working with some of them with like grade, even 7s and 8s, or they're right, not even into high school yet. And they're getting into trying welding, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah. And they're laying like stick welds, peeling, right? They're right. Their flux just peeling off. So it's, there's like, so yeah. It's so cool to see, how happy they are to see that happen. And it's the females too. So that's something wouldn't have maybe done, and we'll do like a trades day, and they get to try it out, and then they see how cool it is, right?
Nice. All right. Well, this is a good time for us to take a break for our advertisers and our sponsors here. And then when we get back, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how you got into teaching, because that's not necessarily an easy step for a lot of people. And it can be even a hard change of lifestyle. So let's get back to that. So stay tuned here on the CWB Association podcast. I'll be right back after these messages from our sponsors with Kat Tudor.
The CWB Association is new and improved and focused on you. We offer a free membership with lots of benefits to anyone interested in joining an association that is passionate about welding. We are committed to educating, informing, and connecting our workforce. Gain access to your free digital publication of the Weld Magazine, free online training, conferences, and lots of giveaways. Reach out to your local CWB Association chapter today to connect with other welding professionals and share welding as a trade in your community. Build your career, stay informed, and support the Canadian welding industry. Join today and learn more at cwbassociation.org.
And we are back here at the CWB Association podcast. My name is Max Ceron. Thank you for staying with us for this show. I have Kat Tudor here coming to us from, where'd you see? Where are you from? Right. And we're talking about her career, as a TIG welder and fabricator, and working her way into what her current career is, which is teaching. Now, let's go back to right before you were teaching. So what were you doing? What had become your profession, that you were really good at before you got these opportunities?
So TIG welding. So mainly steel and aluminum and fabricating. So I would go to work, get my drawings for the day, go to my area, look at my drawing, figure out what material I needed, go grab my material, cut it, maybe use the lathe, grab stuff from the water jet or from the mill or wherever you needed to grab your parts from, cut them, form them, roll them if you needed to roll it or break it, and then form the pieces, fit and weld it up in whatever process or whatever it needed to be done. Mostly it was all TIG. Except for if there was something that wanted to be done kind of quickly and it was mild steel, maybe a structure, like AR or something like that. They wanted to get it done quicker. It would be like MIG welded
So one of the things you brought up from the very beginning of the interview was, and even when talking about your mom and your sister, was this idea of financial independence, which is something that I'm always pushing out there because the trades have given me, I was a single dad. I was, without the trades, I would have been screwed, honestly. Having that financial independence to survive on your own, which can be very hard. And women make less money than men, have less opportunities, and technically, according to the statistics, don't work as many years. So even in retirement, they suffer with less pensions and all these things. It's kind of not a happy outlook for a female in the world of work. It's like, okay, you make less, you got to work more, and you're going to not get as much pension because you have babies and all these things that are like just like negative. And then the trades is like, I'm hoping that it's like a ray of positivity. Like, you can make money, you can be financially independent, you have a pension, you have all these things. Do you feel like you're on that path now? Now teaching, doing what you're doing, are you starting to feel like, okay, I'm getting to where I need to be?
Yes, definitely. And that's why I am teaching. And that's why I am teaching females and males. And that's why I love my job, and I think I'm great at my job, is because I'm pushing that to the students, right? I want them to know that I didn't come from a lot. The reason why I took a trade is because I wanted to make some money. That's the reason why. I wanted to get a job. It was going to make me some money. I decided to take a trade. I wasn't great right when I started touching everything. I wasn't bad. I wasn't great when I picked up a TIG torch. I wasn't probably laying the best stick weld the very first time I laid a stick weld. So when people try out these things, I don't want them to ever feel like, oh, well, I can't do it. The thing is, the amount of effort you put into something, and it will get you somewhere. So I've worked very hard to get where I am. I've put in a lot of effort to be where I am. I've done a lot. I do a lot of extras for all of the places I work for to help out for young females and young men to feel comfortable and confident in their own shoes in an area where people are judgmental of them. And that's life nowadays. Not just to help them with that. Not every student and not every person has somebody telling them every day that they've done a good job. So where I try to base my teaching is to help someone get better by telling them, okay, this is what you're doing well at, and let's fix, because we're going to be able to fix what you can't do at this point or what's going. So that's how I like to teach. And I see my students do so well. I see them laying better welds than I did at the beginning. So I see the process of them going. I see their TIG welds today when I was in shop. The second year students running over and showing me, hey, Kat, look at these welds. Their aluminum welds are just killing it. And I'm telling, my welds did not look like that when I first started welding. They're just doing an amazing job. So the students coming out of these schools are just, they need to be just snatched up as soon as.
Snatched up, yeah. And they will be.
Should be. And that's where it needs to change with the mindset of companies thinking, oh, I'm looking for someone for every job to have 5 years experience out the door. You're not going to find the best people if that's what you're capping it to. And I know that because I'm seeing it now. I'm seeing the students that are coming out, even international students, putting in so much effort along with this, and they're getting picked up by the unions right before they even get out of college, right? And because they're putting in so much effort to get where they want to do it so bad. The girls and the boys that are in the trade are going through the school right now. That's one thing. And the social media aspect of it all, it helps. I know all these students, they know of all these cool spots where they see the cool, fun looking, colorful TIG welds, and they see the aluminum welds, and that they want to get doing that, right? Because it attracts them, and they see how cool it is, and they see that side of the trade, right? And that there is a supportive group of people where you can share your things and share your ideas and that. So that's where it's helping for females. There's so many more females out there. There's Barbie the welder and all these females that are online, and you can see them doing things that are just
so cool.
Yeah, right. And there's women that follow that. I hear it in the schools. Oh, have you seen this from this, right? And they all follow those, and it makes them feel like, oh, that's someone to look to, right? That saying of you can't be what you can't see, or whatever is true. Or it's like sometimes it's hard to get to that point if you can't see yourself there, right? So seeing someone like you, or has a mindset like you, or just came from a spot that wasn't trades based at all. And that's where I push that to my students. I tell them all how it's kind of funny. My mom couldn't find a hammer around the house when we were younger. She'd pick up a high heel shoe and she'd hammer whatever, get the job done. But that was her way of doing it, right?
Yeah, so solve the problem.
Yeah, so it's just funny now. It's seeing the change to it. Like, I'm into all of that type of stuff. The fun girly aspect doesn't change me at all when I get into a male-dominated space. I don't need to act masculine. I don't need to change the way I am. I can be who I feel like I can be, my girly self, and get the job done. Right? Yeah. Those little things that I do, like I like to get my nails done. They're my own nails. I don't get fake nails, but I get my nails painted with like little flames and look kind of cool for the boys and the girls to see that you don't judge by appearance and things for someone coming into a trade, right? Because I see that all the time.
It's just a product, the finished product. Is the job done? Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it with new people getting hired at the shop, and somebody pointing out, oh, look at the new work boots. They probably never had a job before. Look at those new. You have no idea. Like, so those little by people coming into the trade and taking maybe what they feel like they've worked for, or they see these students or younger people coming into the trade with so much energy to get into it, right? So that's where they'll get notches from people. So I point that out. That's where I try to help them. The like teaching aspect came through because I feel like I put a lot of effort into everything I've done. Okay.
Now I know that you did like a spread like with the foundation. They did a write up with you, and I seen you in the magazine. You're on LinkedIn. I was just looking at your little thing, the write up on it. And do you like working with other agencies? Do you like doing the women in trades? Do you like volunteering for all like the mini camps and all that stuff?
Yeah, I love doing that. Yeah, it's fun because I like working with the students. It's something you leave and you feel like, oh, you feel good, right? Like because you're
not getting paid. It's volunteer work, right?
Yeah. So and they love being they love being there, seeing what they. So it's great. It's great seeing it at that age because it can be that they start the trade out of high school if that was the idea, right? I went to school for something else and I had to think, oh, well, this isn't what I want to do, and then it was hard for me. And I never thought to really get my foot wet with trades in high school so much. And the reason why is because it seemed like a more of the boys thing, right? Oh, well, I'm not gonna take that. Like I was kind of like, I took hairstyling. The high school I went to, it was cool that they offered trades as well that were like hairstyling, and that. What else did I take?
But you just felt like a social pressure to go that way, right?
It wasn't even. I still love that. It's just what changed my mind was I want to get a good job where I'm going to make some money. I don't want to have to put in the effort. I know that you can make great money with hairstyling. I'm not trying to knock that trade at all. My mom was a hairstylist, but you have to put a lot of effort as well into building a clientele, if you'd like, somewhat, in that idea. And that the hair, it just wasn't the way I wanted to go. I saw my mom with that field struggle a bit. So I kept that in mind. I wanted to go a different way. I wanted to do something where I wasn't bored sitting at a desk all day. That's even why when I went to school before, it was always thinking of something. I wanted to do something, right? That wasn't just one area. I was getting bored. I wouldn't want to look at a computer screen all day. And that's where the trades thing came into mind, because I thought, okay, well, it seems like I'm not going to go to school, then come out for this, be looking around for a job and not be able to find one, right? Because that's a huge thing nowadays. You'll hear a million people. I work with worked with servers along. They have they've graduated from university or wherever, but they're in that sector of where they've gone to school. They're not able to get a job in the area they're in, and they're not, maybe they would if they moved really far one direction, but they weren't wanting to do that. So there's things that come in to play.
Yeah.
Trades are opening up huge. The thing is that there's more people.
There's so much work,
than there is, getting into it. So, and the more trades that are building, the whole idea of technology getting so big that there's going to be jobs that can be taken by artificial intelligence, right? Like things that you could go to school for that could be taken by something else that can do the job a little quicker. And something that's never going to be taken is a trade, right? You're going to always have a job in the trades that's just going to grow. Ontario is just piling money into helping young students in the high schools and see that and want to take trade classes. So hopefully that helps as well.
Hopefully it helps.
That's going to be something like, even with the trades, everything is moving robotics way, right? It's not still going to take any of the welders' jobs full away from them.
No.
You're probably going to add some jobs in there. If you're good with CNC and you want to work with that side, you might just have a LinkedIn job right there. It might just pay you more. You might be able to be the one that sets up the robotics, your CNC, to get laying the welder, the arm in that's holding the welding gun, right? So that's a whole new setup that everything's moving that way with robotics and laser welding and getting those jobs done. So there's always going to need someone to operate those as well, right? And there's never going to not be the structural welder or
that's all. It's always, and repair work. Forget about it. Repair work is always going to be needed. And
construction and on with the other trades, right? Elevator mechanics and all that type of stuff. So the trades, you're always going to have a job. There's going to be jobs that are slowly leaving, right? You see people where you go to the store now and you're checking out with the
self-checkout.
Isn't cashier anymore, right? The checkout thing that's mechanic. So just the whole idea of everything moving that way, automated, and I think trades is the best idea for someone that's wanting to look forward into the next few years, getting out of high school, looking into getting into something for females, because you don't need to. There's so many different areas, right? You can take
you brought up something that I thought was really cool and that I believe in, and because I'm a weird person that looks different, and my whole life have had like piercings and tattoos and long nails and painted nails, and like my hair's probably longer than yours right now. Like it's and I hate the idea that judgment, physical judgment or visual judgment somehow has anything to do with the work I'm going to do.
Right.
Like, I might be freaky, I might be weird, but the work I'm doing is awesome. So shut your mouth, Now, last year for FabTech Can Weld, we brought up Stephanie Hoffman, and she's a good friend of mine. We brought her up to Toronto, and she had never been to Canada before. So we flew her up and we hung out, we went out to some bars and ate some suppers, and she would have people being like, "Oh my God, you're Stephanie Hoffman. What are you doing here? You have no idea how you've inspired me." Aww. And she's about as girly girl as it gets. You know what I mean? But she is badass, and she owns a welding company and a welding school and all this stuff, right? And that's the type of inspiration that I love. Same with Barbie the welder. She's doing whatever the she wants, and she doesn't care. Ray's another example. Whenever we go down to the States, I hang out with Ray. You don't tell Ray what to do. Yeah. Ray does what she wants to do and how she does it, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we need, not just for women, for everybody. Like,
exactly.
For guys, like, I mean, you can't be a nerd welder. Why not? Why can't you be a nerd welder? Or you can't be a wimpy, skinny guy who's a welder. Why not? Yeah. Or we need everything. We need everybody, everyone on board, right?
Yeah. It's so true. Yeah. Because everybody has a different aspect to something I've just noticed really throughout teaching is how things are absorbed so differently from everyone. So everybody does have just a totally different mindset of things and a different perspective to put in on something. So if you're not really opening up and you're only keeping with one little group or area of people, you're not going to open up. If you're a company or anyone that wants to grow it in into the years we are now with how everything is getting so open, you know what I mean? Like trades are opening up for, like you said, it's not just, even when we get into females, there might be a girl, there might be one that's more into the books, there might be one to more into they all have an area of that trade. They might not go into the same niche in that trade.
That's right.
Like that's the thing is one of them may want to go structural, be welding and going on high rises and getting into that type of thing. Another one might go into like a fabrication shop area, work there, maybe doing some type of TIG welding. Someone maybe wants to start their own business and own structural work, that type of thing. Maybe do art, right? There's a lot of people that
maybe sales. I have Red Seal welder friends that got into sales, and they make crazy money working for Lincoln or Miller, you know, selling welding machines.
Yep, the sales aspect of it all, and like CNC, right? So I've heard of some of the girls, females and males that take the program as well and go the engineering route, right? Well, they take the welding and they carry on more because we introduce them into, you get into basic CNC work and that type of thing, but that will just carry on. If that catches your eye, you just carry on with that and you can get into the engineering side more like than the fabricating and the welding, right? So
yeah. So as we get towards the end of the interview, we're almost at our hour here, which has just flown by. This has been fantastic. You know, a couple of questions. First of all, personally for you, you said you were talking about, you know, starting your own shop someday and your own little weld school or big weld school. Like it's probably gonna start small, get bigger. But you know, what is the motivating factor behind that? Just as an entrepreneur or as a service provider? Like you want to provide a service. Like we have what's her name? Ink Barbie in Ontario, the all female auto body shop, right?
Oh, yeah.
So like, are you looking to do something like that is very much like catered to that? Like, look, we're going to be a welding shop and it's going to be women from the top to the bottom.
Yeah. So my idea is that I want a shop that I can do jobs out of and focus with TIG welding because TIG
it's your favorite.
Yeah, it's my favorite. I find a lot of people a lot of females and males like to get into that, and sometimes they don't feel like they have enough time with it. Also, another thing is that when the same feeling I see some students feel now, as I felt this when I left school, was that I just wanted somewhere that I could go to maybe get a job a few hours if I could, like if I was putting in the effort really hard, somewhere that I could get some experience, right? So if I could have a spot where I would allow females to come and either at some point, if I got to the point where they could work with me or for me, that would be great. But have an area where they could also come and continue on their training a bit. So, because it feels like, I know the feeling of it feeling like, oh, I'm getting to a point and they feel like they're getting good with things and then it cuts off. And if they haven't got their foot in the door yet, it feels like you're like treading water, right? Like you're at the point where you can get there, but if someone's not going to give you that job because you don't have the experience yet,
then what?
You're not going to get anywhere, right? Like you can't get anywhere if they don't let you get the experience. So I want a spot where females could come and then continue on those little things, even if you're right. So that's my goal, my go-to, and it will help more females get into the trade and then feel more comfortable in the trade. And that's the idea.
Do you have a name picked out in your head?
Yeah, I have an idea of what I would want to go with. Yeah, for sure.
Are you gonna spill the beans here or no?
No, I won't. I don't know. People probably have a total idea, but yeah.
You don't have to say it. Don't ruin it. Don't ruin it if it's a secret. But if I see you in person, you gotta tell me in person.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, deal.
All right, not to the masses yet.
Okay. But yeah.
And then the last piece, you know, to round this out as a female who, you know, is proud of being a female, and the biggest thing is to not change who you are. You know, you are the way you are. Where no one's saying pro this or anti that. Just you are the way you are. Just be yourself and run with it. Right now, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, for the people that are lacking confidence, because that's a confidence thing.
Yeah.
For the people that are lacking that confidence, and you can lack confidence for a million reasons. It does, you know, everyone's got a different life. What do you tell them? What do you say to these people, especially younger women that just need that boost, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I even say this to my students, like, I can't tell you, and no one can tell you to be confident, and you'll be confident, right? It's not something you can tell someone and you'll be like, okay. Just like when someone was like, don't be nervous. It's not really going to help much. You're still going to have nerves, right?
Yeah. Or like when someone tells me to calm down,
exactly.
I don't calm down.
Yeah. If you're already in that moment, that's not helpful to hear. It's helpful to hear that you just need to believe in your own, like, what you know. You know what I mean? It comes to a point that it will come with time, because I wasn't always totally confident at all, right? So it gets, as years go and you work and you make yourself feel uncomfortable. It's making yourself feel uncomfortable and getting through those moments that makes you confident, and getting through the hard little notches and the hard, tough times, and having a community or somewhere to like let your feelings out at the end of the day and talk to someone, because it's not good to just sit there and hold all that stuff in. So it's healthy to talk with other people and to know that there's other people around that experience the same things. And it might even just be in the same exact trade. It might all different areas of life, right? Everybody gets the same type of feelings like that at some point. So it's good to talk about it, because then you'll know, okay, it's not only you feeling that way. And then confidence, like I said, it comes. Confidence to me came from working through uncomfortable times and then trusting myself, learning that making mistakes is a big one. You can't feel hard on yourself for like making a mistake, because one thing I know now is it's the mistakes I've made that allow me to know things to tell my students, even, okay, well, this is a lesson learned. This is why I can tell you this, right? Because I've done that before, right? So it's all the mistakes I've made have made me learn more throughout the time as well, and has brought me more confidence in what I know. So I trust myself. From all different spots for anyone, right? You don't know somebody's life. And that's one thing I try to keep in mind when I'm teaching with all the students. And that's why I always want to make our classes a happy environment and a friendly, welcoming environment. So that, because you don't know, I've had students that come to me and they let me know that they're not having a great time, maybe outside of school or where they're at right now. So, and those things play into it. So it's knowing that you're not the only one in certain times, and that confidence comes by working through and putting yourself through uncomfortable situations, right? You have to comfort zone to get to the point that you can feel confident and steady in yourself to carry through with things. So that's where you might not want to do things. That's where even myself, I like to be good at what I do. So that was one thing when I first started TIG welding. I was like, it was kind of annoying. It was really annoying for me, right? Because I wasn't great at it. I wanted to be good, but I wasn't good. So, but you have to know, to get good at something, even to get confidence, you need to have those down points. You need to work through all that. That's what, right? So what gets you good as a welder is to keep laying those welds, right? To keep sticking that rod until the rod sticks so much it doesn't even phase you anymore, right? You just rip it off. So there's little things like that it will just come with time, right? And confidence makes you a better, probably anything you are.
Everything,
better fabricator, better any probably job you are. Once you gain confidence and you get more comfortable in the area and the surrounding you work in, that's why it's so important that we make areas in the trades comfortable for females to work in, because they could be amazing welder, put them in a really uncomfortable position doesn't mean environmental. Maybe they can get up in heights and do whatever they want, but have everybody at them in an uncomfortable environment, that affects anyone, a male or female, right? And that's not fair to have. And sometimes it's not always recognized. So, but getting through that, and that's getting into a smaller area that's a smaller group of people that it's kind of working its way out of the field anyways at this point.
Yeah, I look forward to a lot of that old thinking guard to retire or disappear or quit or whatever.
So that's where, as we move in the new mindset and all the new students, that's what's happening. Because like I said, at the schools I work with, I'm not the only female instructor. It's there's other female instructors, and working with them and seeing the women and the males of all different ages come in and see that they're taught skills and that they're now beginning to master these skills and learn great information and learn to weld and learn to fabricate and learn all these other skills from men and women of too. So they're getting a taste of all different things. Is what I think is going to leave them at the door, and that's going to change the whole the mindset of an environment in the trade.
Awesome. Well, thank you very, very much, Kat, for all this information. It's been wonderful. Is there any shout outs or anything you want to say to anybody, any hellos or thank yous, or any, places that people should maybe check out, or how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, you can follow my TikTok or my Instagram. It's Welder Kat. But other than that, that's basically my shout out. It's to all my students. Any of my students that watch that, I'll be like, hey.
All right. So, hi to Kat students. So you guys better do good. Better get good marks.
Oh, they're good. They're so good.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, and I really appreciate you taking the time today to be on the show.
Thanks so much.
And for all the people that have been following, make sure you keep subscribing, downloading, and sharing our podcast. We really appreciate our dedicated followers and all the people that are always with us, and for all the great invitations for people that have been on the show. It's been a lot of fun. So stay tuned and don't go anywhere. We're going to be here next week with another great episode. Thanks a lot.
We hope you enjoyed the show.